Welcome, lovely souls, back to the Intimate Purpose Podcast. Today's exploration will be on intimacy, my favorite subject. In this journey, we'll dive into the various forms of intimacy and discover how we can cultivate them in our everyday lives. So, grab a cozy seat like me and let's embark on this adventure together. So, intimacy is not just about romantic relationships, not just about finding that one that will complete you. And we will talk about that later. You're already a complete human, by the way. It encompasses a spectrum of connections, and they all enrich our lives. So, what we are going to do is begin by identifying the 6 forms of intimacy. In the past, I've talked about 5 forms of intimacy, but I've added another. And those are emotional intimacy. Always start with that one, and I'll explain that later. Physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, experiential intimacy, intellectual intimacy, and newly added spiritual intimacy. So, the first we're going to start with, like I said, is emotional intimacy. And this one is connected to all the rest, which is why it's so incredibly important. In this profound journey, we'll unravel the layers of emotional connection and discover how to foster it in all of our relationships, especially with our partners. So let's dive deep into the realm of the heart and the soul. Emotional intimacy forms the foundation of our closest bonds. Partners or not, emotional intimacy forms the foundation. When you block the emotional intimacy, when you say, oh, the intimacy is all physical, it's all sexual, and no emotion, we're going to agree, no emotion. Well, it's really the foundation of all intimacy. So there's really no intimacy without emotional intimacy. Emotions are energy in motion. It is impossible to have any form of intimacy without emotions. Now, it's about sharing our innermost thoughts, fears, dreams with another soul. Vulnerability, opening up and allowing yourself to be seen, flaws and all, good and bad, dark and light. We all got them. It requires empathy, understanding and validating each other's feelings with compassion and care and kindness. It requires trust. Believe it or not, telling the truth, even if it hurts someone's feelings, is better than a lie. Believing in the reliability and sincerity of one another's emotions builds that emotional intimacy. And above all else, communication. Expressing emotions honestly, openly, even if it's difficult. Here's some practical ways that you can increase your emotional intimacy. First, practice active listening. Truly hear and understand and comprehend what your partner is saying to you. Be present. Be there and actually actively listen. Not coming up with what your response will be, but actively listening without any judgment, without interruptions. Reflect back their feelings to show that empathy and that vulnerability. We are a projection and a reflection back on each other. So when someone is sharing with you, reflect back that you understand, that you hear them. Share your feelings. Be courageous in expressing your emotions authentically. Don't shy away from the vulnerability. It's the gateway to deeper connection. The more vulnerable you are, the more connected you are. Create rituals with your partners, rituals of connection. Establish meaningful rituals like daily checkups. You text everyone every day. You call them, you FaceTime. Set up weekly dates. Prioritize that emotional closeness. Talk to each other. When you are cultivating empathy, put yourself in the shoes of your partner and strive to understand their perspective. Remember, every single one of us have a different perspective. No one can see the way I see. No one can see the way you see. But when you cultivate empathy, then you can put yourself in their place and see where they're coming from. Validate their feelings and show genuine concern for their well-being. Now, with all these forms of intimacy, all of them have obstacles, right? There are things about us and in our relationships that we have no control over and that may hinder the growth of that form of intimacy. And this applies to every one of them. Some of the challenges with emotional intimacy come with the fear of rejection, abandonment. Understand that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. Being soft is okay. Take those small steps towards opening up and gradually build that trust over time with your partner. And this can be with friends. This doesn't even have to be with a romantic partner, with family. Stop being afraid of being rejected and start being real. Start allowing yourself to share the real you. Communication breakdowns are always a factor with every form of intimacy. You have to practice effective communication skills, like the active listening, and also finding your voice. A lot of times in relationships, one person is more dominant than the other. One person may lose their voice and the other talks all the time. You have to be assertive with what you want, not aggressive. There's a difference. Assertive in bridging the gap and resolving the conflict constructively, having conversation, diving deep into what you expect out of the situation, expect out of the emotion. Another factor which can be involved with all of us is past trauma. If you have past trauma and you have not done any kind of shadow work, any kind of inner child healing, any kind of behavior therapy, please seek support from a therapist, a counselor, a coach like me. Each of us can help you work through unresolved emotional wounds and build healthier relationship patterns with your partners. Now, journey into the realm of touch, closeness, and connection, uncovering the ways to deepen our emotional intimacy with everyone in our lives. And that is through physical touch. Physical intimacy goes beyond just touch. It's about expressing love, affection, and care through our bodies. And let's talk about why it's so significant. Touch is the language of connection. We talk about love languages. Touch is the language of connection. It conveys warmth and comfort, home, reassurance, safety. And this is not sexual intimacy. This is physical touch. This can be with partners, with friends, with family. It shows a closeness that you're sharing physical proximity, space, whether through hugs. We don't give ourselves hugs enough. You're supposed to be hugging for 20 seconds. Can you imagine a 20-second hug? It's a long time. Me growing up, the hugs were, pat on the back, maybe 3 seconds at the most. But a 20-second hug, if you haven't gotten a hug lately, go hug yourself. Wrapping your arms around yourself and squeezing and holding for 20 seconds. Count it for 20 seconds. I'm not going to do that here because you'd be sitting here for 20 seconds while I hugged myself. But it does reset your nervous system. It does show you your nervous system that is safe, secure. So anytime you're feeling out of control, you need to get back into your body. And a hug is a great way to do it. Cuddling, holding hands, anything like that is a simple gesture to show physical intimacy with someone you care about. Even shaking a hand can be physical intimacy. Maybe it's somebody you just met, but touching shows a connection. When we move on to a partner, sensuality is part of physical touch. This is not sexuality. This is not sexual intimacy. This is sensuality. And sensuality has to do with exploring your senses. So it could be the smells, the taste, what you hear, the music playing. Make a mood, make an environment, something that makes you want to explore your senses, awaken those pleasures and those deepening emotional bonds through your physical experiences. Excite all the senses. That will bring about the sensuality. If you want to nurture your physical intimacy, make sure you prioritize physical affection. Make time for those hugs. Set an intention to give those kisses and cuddles throughout the day. Even the small gesture of touch can communicate love and support. Practice mindful touch. Approach physical interactions with presence and intention, savoring each connection, each moment. When it's mindful touch, you're present. You're in the moment. You're paying attention. You're not ruminating on the past. You're not thinking of some imagination in the future. You're not watching something with someone else in it or being distracted. You're present, and it's mindful touch. Approach every physical interaction with presence and intention. Why are you doing it? Ask yourself it. Explore sensory experiences. Engage in activities that heighten your senses. Maybe you like to cook together. Maybe you like to give massages or dance for each other. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to explore. Communicate your preferences with each other. Some of us don't communicate. We get nervous, we get anxiety over it, but communication is key no matter what kind of intimacy it is. Openly discuss your comfort levels, your boundaries, and your desires with your partners, what your expectations are. Ensure that physical intimacy is always consensual. Consent is key, and enjoyable for both partners. If it's not enjoyable, say it. Stop being afraid to tell your partner what your desires are and what you like and what you don't like. Just like with emotional intimacy, there are obstacles you're going to face. One of those is stress and tension. Our society is high stress all the time, and it doesn't help that we're always on some kind of social media or some kind of technology. Disconnect to reconnect with yourself. Stress and tension will cause a roadblock in your physical intimacy. You can practice relaxation techniques, such as deep breathing. Again, get back into your body, breathing through the nose, smelling the smells, relaxing the nervous system. Meditation. If you are not connected to yourself, you cannot connect to others. So if you've been distracted by everything going on, get back into the body. Give yourself the great pause, is what I call it. Step away from the situation and then come back to it. When you are in a headspace that you've given yourself time to relax your nervous system. Resetting the nervous system and emotional regulation are the two keys to having great intimacy. Create a more conducive environment for physical connection. Is your house all dirty? Does it seem like you don't want any, are you distracted all the time? Maybe too many people around you. Don't put yourself or your partner in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, or it's going to ruin that connection and cause stress. Body image is always an issue with physical and sexual intimacy. You must learn to cultivate self-compassion and self-love, body acceptance, and recognizing your own beauty and worthiness. Your partner can use the love language of compliments, making you feel more comfortable with yourself. However, body image really comes down to you. It's not your partner's job to make you feel comfortable in your own skin. It's yours. Again, communication breakdowns can be a factor in all of the intimacy, but when we're talking specifically about physical intimacy, make sure you foster open and honest communication, discussing any concerns or insecurities that may arise during the physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is a sacred dance of connection, one that deepens those emotional bonds and nurtures the soul. And when I said emotional intimacy was so important, it really applies to every single one of these. All of these are meant to nurture the emotional intimacy. If you include touch, closeness, or sensory experiences, you can cultivate that deeper connection. So let's move on to the connection of sexual intimacy, which all of you, that's why you came and listened to this podcast, right? So the beauty of physical intimacy, and let it be a guiding force on the journey into the sexual intimacy. Include all those things before you get here. The most understood, of course, is sexual intimacy, and we're going to take a deep dive into it. We're going to delve into the intricate dance of desire, connection, and emotional intimacy. Sorry, guys, you cannot disconnect unless you are dissociating and closing your heart space. You cannot connect with another person without the emotional intimacy. Again, emotions are just energy in motion. Can't say there's no emotion when there's a sexual intimacy. This is a energetic exchange. So, the essence of sexual intimacy, and we're going to talk about ways to cultivate a deeper emotional connection through it. It's more than physical pleasure. It's about vulnerability, trust, and emotional connection. So, let's talk about vulnerability. Again, with the emotional connection, vulnerability is about opening up and sharing your deepest desires, your fears with your partner, creating a safe space of trust and acceptance with your partner. Trust, emotional and sexual have a lot of connections. How you can say, nope, I'm not going to have it. Hey, like I did for years. That means that there's a block. So, believing in the safety and security of your relationship allows you to be fully present and authentic in your moment. Knowing that there's that honesty and trust and safety and security builds that emotional connection, fostering a deeper bond with your partner through shared experiences and communication and mutual understanding. Some ways you can help with the sexual intimacy is to prioritize the communication. It's more important than everything. Communication is key. Consent is key. Have that open and honest discussion with your partner about your desires, your boundaries, the fantasies you want to live out, creating that safe space for you to explore and express what you want. Focus on the sensuality. Slow down. Savor each moment of the physical connection with your partner. Focus on the sensations, the touch and the presence, the smells, what you see, what you hear, what you taste. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to share new experiences with your partner. Insecurity comes with fear. Let go of the fear. Explore new experiences. Step out of your comfort zone and try new things together. Whether it's experimenting with new techniques, exploring some fantasies, getting a little wild. If you are in an alternative relationship, it could be a non-monogamous relationship, ethical non-monogamous relationship. It can be, all kinds of things. You can just explore those fantasies together. And hey, don't forget the toys. I'm all about the toys. So don't be afraid of toys, boys. There are those for you too. Embrace the emotional connection. Cultivate emotional intimacy outside of the bedroom, like we talked about, through those shared experiences, quality time together, and those conversations, creating a strong foundation Once you have the strong foundation, the sexual connection is bomb. So, similarly to the other forms of intimacy, there are those challenges which again comes through communication breaking down, not feeling like you can be open and honest about your desires and your pleasures and your needs and your concerns around the sexual intimacy, and not actively listening. You need to listen to your partner. You need to be able to express those things. You need to have a safe space to deal with your own body images and a way to cultivate that self-acceptance and love. Then there's the performance factor. Performance anxiety comes with the fact that we have connected sexual intimacy with watching adult films, to be honest. We don't have a lot of sexual education in our education system. And now, luckily, there are a lot more sex educators out there to be able to share with you and intimacy coaches like me. But performance anxiety comes with focusing on the performance instead of the pleasure. Shift that focus. Shift the focus from being the porn star and worrying about pleasuring in the presence. Emphasize the connection. Build that sensuality. It's more about the connection than achieving some kind of outcome. It's a journey of connection, pleasure, and emotional fulfillment, if you allow it to be. If you prioritize the communication, the sensuality, and the emotional connection instead of the performance, you can cultivate a deeper sexual intimacy with your partner, and that'll just enrich your relationship. Moving on to one that I enjoy. This one's fun. Moving on to the essence of experiential intimacy. This also will lead to emotional connections. And you may be asking, what the hell is experiential intimacy? Well, it's about sharing those meaningful experiences, creating bonds that transcend the words, deepen the connections. It includes shared moments like engaging in activities and adventures and those rituals we talked about together, creating memories and strengthening bonds. Presence is key. You got to be here fully immersed in the present moment with an open heart and mind to share those experiences with your loved ones. If you're distracted on your phone, or you're thinking about work, or you're thinking about your friends, or you're again ruminating in the past, or over here in this imagination of what's going to happen in the future, and that's all the anxiety and worry, then you're not ever in the present. To build on this experiential intimacy and build those memories, you got to be here in the present moment. You got to be able to focus on what's happening today. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow does not exist. It's going to lead to better emotional connections. And that just creates that bond. Connection through action, which means you're expressing love, care, and understanding through those shared activities, like your hobbies, like the adventures you go on. That is connecting through the action that you're taking. That's what experiential intimacy is all about. Here are some ways that you can nurture it. Prioritize quality time, not quantity. It's not all about I'm with somebody for 25 years and I spend every day with them and I sleep in the same bed as them every night and, we hardly fucking talk. It's about the quality time. Set aside a dedicated time to engage in those shared activities together with those people that you love. Maybe it's cooking dinner together. Maybe it's going for a hike. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's getting a new hobby. Maybe you want to go to a dance class or an art class or something that you desire and enjoy and a passion that you can share together. Again, presence is key. You got to be fully present. If you're distracted all the time and not paying attention, you're not savoring the moment. You're not sharing that experience and that connection. Just like we talked about with sexual intimacy, Experiential intimacy is all about exploring new adventures together, stepping out of that comfort zone, whether you're traveling to a new destination or trying out a new sport or attending a workshop or class. It's about these new experiences that you're building memories together. And to make it more fun, more exciting, make sure you reflect and share with each other. After each experience, take time to talk about it. Share your thoughts and your feelings and your insights and your insecurities and deepen that connection together based on that experience and that activity. The things that will cause issues with any kind of experiential intimacy, of course, are busy schedules, and that comes along with distractions. If you're a workaholic like me, then you may be constantly distracted, and it does take you setting intentions so that you can prioritize quality time together by scheduling like regular date nights or weekend getaways, and be intentional about creating that safe space for those shared experiences with each other. Another factor could be the fear of vulnerability. If you do not embrace the vulnerability as a pathway to a deeper connection and growth, then you're not going to be able to create a safe space that's supportive. And that is extremely important to be able to share those experiences, safety, security, and trust in any relationship. Of course, the communication breakdowns do apply here too. You got to be able to express what you desire and the needs and the concerns you have. If you have a blocked throat chakra, if you aren't listening, then you're going to have a communication breakdown. Remember that the shared moments have the power to ignite the flames of connection and to nourish your soul. If you prioritize quality time, presence, and share some adventures together, you're going to cultivate a deeper emotional connection. We always go back to emotional. Now we're going to delve into intellectual intimacy, another one of my favorites. I do consider myself a sapio pansexual. I mean, I don't really have a type, but I am definitely turned on by some brains. Intellectual intimacy transcends surface level interactions. It involves sharing thoughts, ideas, and new perspectives in a meaningful and enriching manner, a way that you can actually learn from each other through shared curiosity. You embrace those mutual interests, learning and exploring new things together, engaging in interesting and provoking conversations, delving into stimulating discussions that challenge and inspire each of you and your brain. You build a form of mutual respect. You value and appreciate each other's thoughts and your opinions and insights. It's not a competition. It's a collaboration of thoughts and processes. Even if they're different, you include that active listening. You learn from each other. To nurture it, you've got to create a space for dialogue. Set aside a dedicated time for those meaningful conversations with your partner where you're free to share thoughts and ideas and perspectives without any judgment. Explore your shared interests together, like come up with common areas of interest or curiosity and embark on intellectual pursuits together. Go learn something together. Attend lectures, read books, watch documentaries, talk about them. Embrace that curiosity and stay open-minded and curious instead of judgmental and shamey. Actually seek out opportunities to learn and grow together, whether it's trying new activities, exploring different cultures, discussing current events, showing each other shit on your phone, like what you're interested in. Again, back to active listening. If you would listen intently to your partner's ideas and opinions, you show genuine interest and respect for their perspective, even if you don't always agree. It's going to increase your intellectual intimacy and make your relationship so much better. Again, challenges, communication barrier. If you've got to foster an open and honest communication with your partner. You've got to hold a safe space where you can get deeper without the judgment, without the laughing or closed-minded perspective. There may be differences in interest. Maybe you guys have things that are totally not interested with each other. One's interested in sports, one's interested in tarot cards. Embrace the diversity of interests and the perspective within your relationship. Find some common ground. Explore new areas of mutual interest, things that both spark up your brain. The vulnerability, again, it can always be a challenge. If you create a safe and supportive space, environment to share those thoughts, those ideas where both partners feel comfortable expressing themselves authentically, then there's no fear of judgment. If you prioritize curiosity, respect, and open-mindedness, you can cultivate that deeper intellectual intimacy, which again will build on the emotional intimacy. Now, the last one is my new one. I've never been truly connected to the spiritual side of me. Okay, I say that, but for years I've been blocked from that spiritual side of me. Younger, super connected, then, got wrapped up in a relationship where I blocked off this side of me. And we're going to dive into the spiritual intimacy and actually what it can do for you and discover the ways that it can cultivate a deeper emotional connection. Spiritual intimacy transcends the physical and the intellectual, and it involves a soul connection, a soulful level, about sharing your beliefs, your values, and your experiences that uplift you and inspire you, even your thoughts, even your connections to those outside of you, those that can't be seen. A way to cultivate that is through shared values, aligning with each other. We are all frequency, we are all energy, we all vibe. If you're vibing with each other, if you're on the same level, if you're on the same frequency, then you're likely going to be connected and attached to each other. If you share those aligned values, the core beliefs and the principles, the sense of unity and purpose, sharing not just connection rituals, but sacred rituals. Engaging in spiritual practices together. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's breath work, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's even reading and learning together, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's attending church. Whatever it is, it'll deepen the bond between your soul. And then there is transcendent love. Transcendent love is not about the physical. It is not about the intellectual, which I like, but it's about experiencing a profound sense of connection. Just knowing that somewhere around there, maybe this was a past life, this is a twin flame, this is a soul mate, whatever you want to call it. It's about a profound sense of connection and oneness with each other. And the universe, everything, a profound sense of oneness within you. It's rooted in love and compassion. The ways that you can nurture this profound sense of soul connection is through those shared spiritual practices. Explore those spiritual traditions and practices that resonate with both of you and incorporate them into your daily lives. Maybe it's affirmations every day. Maybe it's setting your intentions together. Maybe it's, like I said, yoga or meditation together. It just deepens that connection to you and the universe. Engage in those meaningful conversations and have that open and honest discussions about your spiritual beliefs, your experiences and aspirations, creating that space of mutual understanding and growth, even if you're different. support each other's spiritual journey, encourage and uplift each other, and your individual path on spiritual growth without the control. You want to be able to let your partner be free to be free to be themselves, to be free to be themselves around you without you trying to control the situation, without your limiting beliefs, your insecurities, your jealousy, your issues placed onto them. The spiritual intimacy opens that up too, that we're all connected. We're all connected with each other. So why are we limiting the love? Why are we holding back the love from others because we think what? We have the one that we were supposed to have? Encourage and uplift your partner on their own individual path of self-discovery, growth, freedom. Love is freedom. Let them be free to be. Celebrate each other, the progress, the insights. Sure, you're going to have differences in beliefs. You just have to show respect and understand their perspective. Focus on those shared values and experiences that you have rather than letting any differences divide you. If you have fear of judgment, create a safe space for your partner so that they don't fear the judgment. There is no judgment. It's a non-judgmental space that you can share your spiritual experiences, your insights, your whatever makes you and your partner feel connected and accepted and supported in their journey. If you lack the connection, you've got to explore new spiritual practices and experiences together or on your own, and be open to discovering those new ways of connecting with each other and the universe. So let's reflect on the richness of connection we've explored today. From emotional and physical to intellectual and spiritual, each form of intimacy offers a unique pathway to a deeper connection and fulfillment in our relationships. By nurturing vulnerability, empathy, curiosity, and love, we can cultivate profound connections with everyone in our lives. So, this is what you have to do. Embrace the beauty of all forms of intimacy and let them illuminate our path towards greater love, understanding, and connection. Limitless love. Until next time, may your hearts be open and your souls be united and your relationships be filled with joy. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time on the Intimate Purpose Podcast.